Now, it's time for another video log. It's been quite a while now. It's been more than a month since the last one. And I've been quite busy. Well, simultaneously busy and not busy at all. But school began. I've been here at my new site for 6 weeks. Or more than 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks. And yeah, I guess there's some things to report. Though I have been writing a lot in my blog, so for those of you who follow it, you should be more or less up to date with what's happening. But it's no substitute for actually seeing a person's face. Yeah, I got here in the middle of June, and then I had like 3.5 weeks of lollygagging time. Not lollygagging. I didn't waste it. I was at the school most days, getting to know my community, getting to know my counterparts, getting to know the structure, trying to get my bearings, trying to anticipate surprises, of which there have been many. School's begun, though you can't really say it's begun. It's really, summer vacation here is really short. When I arrived, it was still summer vacation. It only lasts like a month or less. And school just they started up and it sort of creaks to a start. It just gets rolling a little bit. The first week, the schedule is not even really made. Teachers haven't made lesson plans. School is frequently canceled because of all these other activities that come up. Like last week, in the beginning of the week, there was no school in the middle of the day because kids were all practicing this marching thing, which is mandatory. All this kids have to do marching. It's part of sort of the national culture, especially around this time of the year because Indonesian Independence Day is coming up. Then school was canceled on Wednesday because it was the actual marching competition. Then school was canceled on Thursday for no one really knows what reason. I suspect it's because one of the teachers had a baby and the other teachers wanted to go visit and do this ritual where they give her something. I don't know. I just didn't go to school, so then yeah, Friday's like a half day anyway because of Friday prayers. Saturday's like a half day. And then next week, the first 3 days of school are canceled because it's Ramadan. Ramadan's starting in 2 days. It's going to be my first Ramadan. And of course, for those of you who don't know, Ramadan is the holy month of Islam. Islam moves on a lunar calendar, which means that in our calendar, it changes every year. It's not in the same month every year. But Ramadan is the month of fasting from sun up to sundown. You're not allowed to eat anything, you're not allowed to drink anything, you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes or indulge in vices of any sort, I believe. So that's about to kick off and I am psyched. I didn't think I would be, but I am because, well, we'll get around to it. One of the challenges here is figuring out what to do with all this time. There's a lot more time in the day now because activities aren't structured. I'm only in the classroom 20 hours a week in a perfect week because that's when, all the classes actually happen, which is rarely. And, it doesn't take that long to plan for classes, especially with the schedule I've got going now. So there's so much extra time, and filling it up is how do I do it? So at times that can lead to intense periods of reading, to intense periods of writing, to having a marathon movie watching, or not movie watching, but TV show watching, or to just spending a lot of time at school talking with teachers. Too rarely it has led to me spending a lot more time with my neighbors, though that has been changing the last few days and I feel very proud. It's maybe a consequence of Ramadan being in the air. Everybody's getting a little bit festive, everyone's getting excited that it's going to happen. Which is, it's kind of counterintuitive to think about people being excited to fast and be hungry and cranky all the time because, well, you just wouldn't expect it. Sometimes just trying to figure out what the schedule is for school and for Ramadan and for all these crazy interruptions that happen is pulling teeth, man. People just do not want to tell you, or everyone assumes you already know everything for no reason at all. They assume you know all about the schedule and why things happen. So they forget to explain to you that, like, oh, by the way, on this day there's going to be this ceremony. On that day we're going to do this. And it's normal that, classes are shorter. For example, in my school, students all have to take all their classes during Ramadan, but every class is only 25 minutes long. And that's even being generous. They'll probably even be shorter than that. Because during Ramadan, it's taxing. You can't just be in school 8 hours a day without eating and drinking. So they're still making the kids take all the classes just for an insignificant period of time. I'm not sure what the logic is behind this. And, well, I'm not sure what the logic is behind a lot of stuff in this system, which is half the fun of being involved in it. You just get to constantly try to figure out why everything's happening the way it is. And that leads to some frustrations. But I don't know, if you stay relaxed, if you try not to take things personally, it's not the hardest thing to deal with. But I don't know, it's very frustrating at times. And on a moral and ideological level, it's difficult to grasp how much time gets wasted here, how many things are done in name only and not for the substance of them. How much emphasis there is on the forms, I don't know, I would say formal stuff, on ceremony and appearing to be official and appearing to be, appearing to be good or effective. And below that surface, there are some serious problems, or I guess some serious challenges presented by the attitude, or just inherent in the culture. But also, it's not just the culture; it's sometimes materially there's problems. Whatever. I'm not going to get into it now. I've written about it, and I'm going to continue writing about it. Though I've been holding off on writing too heavy of criticisms of the system here, especially the education system, because I work in it, and it's probably not productive to publish scathing critiques of, your employer. But if anyone is interested in sort of an unvarnished opinion, you can just let me know, and I'll send you some stuff that I've written up. Let's see what else. Like I was saying, sometimes filling your day is a challenge, and there's definitely weeks where you're just kind of tired, or you're kind of antisocial. You just don't want to deal with anyone because it's very taxing, and everyone asks you the same questions all the time, and you feel like you can't exchange deeply with people, both for cultural reasons and for linguistic reasons. But so I had a good week and a half, 2 weeks where I was relatively antisocial. The last few days have really been picking up a lot, though. It's partially from my own excitement about, I don't know, I just feel like the air is changing around in here. People are, it's an exciting time. And I am feeling more comfortable with school, and I don't know, just feeling pretty good in general. The last few days I've been speaking a lot more Indonesian. There's some days where I speak a lot, and there's some days where I barely speak any, depending on who I'm talking with, how much I interact with. Because my main point, or my main comrade here are the other English teachers, especially one Bu Ani, who I'm sure will be watching this. Hi, Bu Ani. And with English teachers, I only speak English. And then if in class, I mostly only speak English. So speaking Indonesian sometimes is rare. It depends how much I'm interacting with my family and the neighbors and non-English teachers. But I'm trying to increase that because, that's part of integrating in the culture. And it's good for my Indonesian. You just have to practice. The only way to get better is by actually speaking. So that's what I'm doing. And now I'm starting to feel, for a while a few weeks I was feeling almost plateaued because I stopped studying independently. like in books and looking up words in the dictionary, but I'd been listening to podcasts, and now it's been moving faster again. I can feel good about that. That I'm picking up more vocabulary again, and feel a little more hunger than I had the last couple of weeks to communicate in Indonesian. Because I think once you get past that barrier of talking about the shallow stuff all the time, there are ways around it. There are ways to like maneuver the conversations as you want, and that's like where it gets a little more interesting. I know I'm being kind of vague here, but saya pikir saya bisa bilang bahwa bahasa Indonesia saya sudah cukup bagus untuk berkomunikasi tentang hal-hal yang lebih dalam daripada ya apa daripada topik yang sehari-hari. That's a little Indonesian for you. If you speak Indonesian, you know what I said. Just want to say a few words on the difficulties here, because they've been more prominent the last few weeks than they were during training, at least for me. The whole fact of being alone, there are no, for those of you who have been paying no attention at all to my blogs or video logs, like I am alone in my village, like the only American, the only volunteer. I'm the only one within several hours of this place, so I'm like the only white person here, and I'm not, the other volunteers are all in similar situations, almost all. Everyone is in their village alone except the one married couple who live in the same house but teach at different schools. So yeah, we're in rural areas where people are not used to seeing white people or Americans, actually, even black people, because there are black volunteers, of course, and Asian ethnic volunteers, and there's no one who looks just like an Indonesian. So we all look different than the people we live with, and we're the only people who look that way, whether we're white or black or Asian. And sticking out like that is, well, we're basically celebrities. We're celebrities because Indonesians are very friendly and they're very excited to meet people from outside Indonesia and outside their village, because they rarely ever get the chance. And it's a double-edged thing, because on the one hand everyone's very it's nice when everyone's excited to see you and people give you a lot of respect. It's good to have that. It's basically like being a celebrity. On the other hand, everybody gawks at you. Everyone who doesn't know you stares. Little kids laugh, and people yell out stuff, and it's just, you feel like a zoo animal that people just think you exist for their entertainment, and that is rough. After it can be just because people will call out in ways that would be disrespectful in the U.S. but aren't disrespectful here. And you can tell they're sometimes it's kids trying to show off to their friends, or, kid works up the courage to say hello. If you say hello back, the whole lot of them, 10 kids will just bust out laughing. For no reason. I mean, just because it's funny, I guess, that the foreigner talks and has a brain or something. It's not an animal. I'm not really sure. At times that can be infuriating. Other times, other times it can be a little charming, like when kids want to say hello to you and they smile at you, and that's great, but it's ups and downs. I can understand why celebrities complain so much about the attention that they get, because really it sucks not being able to be anonymous at all. But I mean, that's just part of the job. As for the difficulty, the real difficulty beyond that is that because we're all alone in our villages, we all are dealing with this isolation. Culture here is just really different, and they have different priorities, and it's much simpler. Can I say it's much simpler? There are fewer things to do. People are much more homogenous in their beliefs and their lifestyles, and they do not usually they do not understand, they don't comprehend that you've given up a ton of stuff to be where you are. For example, you give up your family and your home culture and your friends. Some people, their girlfriends or boyfriends. The food that you're used to and you like, the predictability of every day, the assurance of health, of being healthy, the being surrounded by people that look like you, your ability to be anonymous, your normal, like I say, your normal daily activities, you've just everything. Like you give up everything to be here, and nobody realizes that you did it. And so just people don't relate. They don't understand what you're going through, because also basically none of them have ever traveled. None of them have ever left the island. Very few have gone far from their homes. And so they don't have the capacity to empathize, and that makes it very lonely, because even if you express that, like, listen, I'm feeling bad today, I'm feeling isolated, all these kids laughing, or just having a hard time connecting, and blah blah blah, and people will often just say, oh, it's no problem, don't worry about it. And you want to say, well, actually it is a problem, because it makes me feel like crap. And just there are some people who will get it and give you a sympathetic ear. Most people do not understand at all, and that's where the isolation comes in. That's something you feel much more acutely, or I feel much more acutely now than I did in training, because in training I had other Americans around me, and I know that's been the case for every one of the new volunteers. In fact, two of the new ones have decided that Peace Corps wasn't for them. They decided to return home, and there are plenty more who are right now struggling with doubts and reconsidering. Is this really for me? Can I handle this for 2 years? Can I be this alone all the time? Am I even making a difference in the system? Is it worth the sacrifice? I'm not having doubts about staying here. I'm going to stay. It's just all there is to it. I'm not quitting, and it's not as bad for me as it is for other people. One, because I have struck, I don't know, it's like I won the lottery, and I have a person, 1.5 people here who are real, actual friends that I can talk to in a deep way and expect sympathy, and it's just as good as having an American here to lean on. Secondly, I got the other PCVs. Third, I'm not a quitter. Fourth, it's just not, it's difficult at times, but it's not difficult in the way that I don't panic here. If I feel bad, I just feel bad for a while, and I know it's going to get better. So that's a bit of the difficulties. There's the personal, and then there's all that initial stuff that you think of if you go to a developing country with low technology or lack of creature comforts and things like that. That stuff fades away really quick. You get used to eating on the floor, you get used to not having television, you get used to eating rice every day and wiping your ass with your hand. All that stuff is like, that stuff's taken care of after a couple weeks. It's really the cultural difference, it's the isolation that challenges you. The challenge is it's like 90% mental, except for those people who actually become physically ill. Then it's very physical, but for assuming you stay healthy, the challenge is all mental. And my dad, when I was talking to him, used a good term. I think he called it cultural dislocation, and that's what it is, man. It's like being uprooted from your culture, like a carrot planted in a field of lettuce or something. It's just you're just in a totally different place. That's really, that's why we all joined. Well, that's why I joined anyway. I joined for the challenge, which is why I'm all right with it. I didn't join because I thought I was going to make a bunch of people into Shakespeare in English. A lot of people also have the conception that Peace Corps is only for selfless people who want to serve and blah blah blah. There are those kinds of people, and it maybe is a component of most volunteers' personalities, but I can say for me, it's like, this is not a selfless decision to join Peace Corps. I didn't think about it as I'm giving up my own life to do this thing that is so noble. That wasn't it at all. It was much more about, I saw this as an opportunity for personal growth and development, for a challenge that also coincided with my professional goals and my personal development goals. So that was really the reason. It wasn't that I thought I was going to go help people. That's a rather arrogant thing to think that, one American with no money or no connections in the world could lift people out of ignorance or poverty or anything like that. That's pretty unrealistic. So yeah, we Peace Corps volunteers were not all, certainly not smoking weed on a beach or something like that. I think there's also that image of Peace Corps volunteers that was just, you're just hanging out here with the natives or something. Not that at all. It's a lot harder than that. It's actual work here and it's stressful stuff. But that's good. That's what makes you grow, That's what makes you develop. With the combination of all this free time and the new stresses or I say the challenges of service at this point, I've been a lot more productive writing, and I've written a lot since I got here. And if I continue at this pace, there's going to be enough material for at least for a book. Not that I necessarily want to make one, but it's just there's a lot. And because of this relative isolation, it means a lot to me when I know that people are reading. So for those of you that do read, know that I appreciate that it means a lot to me that you follow that, because I don't know, we volunteers, I think I can speak for most people, that we feel really full. We're filled up by all these experiences that we have that we cannot possibly communicate them all, but when we do try, it's so meaningful that people listen and that people take seriously what we have to say, because that helps to validate all of the sacrifice that we are making, or it helps to validate the difficulty of what we're doing. Even if it's not listening, or even if it's just listening to us vent about how pissed off we are or how depressed we are, or else just to take an interest in the culture that we're describing. That's really meaningful, I can say, for me personally. So for those of you who do read and let me know that you read, and I really appreciate that, and it makes all the difference for me. The last thing I want to say probably is end on a positive note, or another positive note. The last thing is, one of the best things about being here is that I get to I get to serve with other people, and those other people are really smart and brave, and they have just these different personalities in mind. When I read what they write, when I talk to them, it's so nice to get their perspective and to hear about their experiences, because it's I don't know, I just feel very lucky to be working with the people that I work with, even though I don't even see them. But just being in contact with them and sharing this experience with them, it's definitely something that you can't expect anyone to understand it who hasn't done it. Not that you all can't understand it, or that you can't relate. I imagine you can, but it's really good to have, there's kind of a family unit, and it grows closer and closer as time goes on. I feel pretty close to almost all the volunteers. I could have a good time hanging out with each of them individually, because there's a lot to talk about. And I'm sure after my service finishes, those friendships are going to be really important. Of course, in addition to the friendships I had before I left and the ones I'll make after I return. Don't mean to exclude anyone, but I'm just very grateful that that this new group of people is included in my life. And so I end on that. This was a totally rambling update, so I congratulate you if you watched it to the end. It's kind of a long one. Thank you for your attention. I hope you read the blog because it makes me feel good when you do. And yeah, I'll get back to you. I'll make another video when I have the motivation to make another video. Take care.